Hey guys, what's up? Sirmo11 here, and I feel like I'm one of the few people who likes Marvel's Spider-Man. Marvel's Spider-Man is Marvel and Disney's new 2017 Spider-Man cartoon series, which features a Peter Parker that just became Spider-Man. Originally, I was a big advocate for this series. I saw the short clip that they posted on YouTube, and the animation looked a little weird, but I thought that would look normal in the main series, and that ended up being the result. And this show actually started on YouTube, as there's 6 clips showing how Peter Parker became Spider-Man, which for some reason aren't their own episode or aren't their own special that airs on TV. And if you just watch the show, you'll think that they're jumping right into the plot, in the middle of the plot of Spider-Man, but no, they cover Peter Parker, they cover the wrestling money situation, and they cover the Uncle Ben situation. And I actually just watched these clips a few weeks ago on YouTube, and they're not that bad. In fact, the show is not that bad. I was surprised how much hate I saw for this show before it even premiered, and after it premiered on Disney XD. People already came into the show with the mindset that they weren't going to like the show, so I haven't watched the Spider-Man series since Spectacular Spider-Man. I tried watching during the Drake Bell era, but once I saw a chibi Spider-Man and them trying to put Spider-Man on a team right away, I didn't watch the cartoon. I didn't like it. Apparently the show covered a lot of things and many different Spider-Men, but to me, it seemed too comedic, especially right away, right off the bat. And I realized Spider-Man is a character that talks a lot and cracks jokes, but chibis? I think even Spider-Man broke the fourth wall at some point. It just wasn't that interesting to me. Marvel's Spider-Man is alright. As I said, I was a big advocate for the series, but as it went on, some of the episodes and the pacing just weren't that good. There's a lot of school in this show. There's feuding schools. It's kind of strange. Basically, Peter is accepted into Horizon High, which is a school for smart people, and other students at Horizon High include Gwen Stacy, Miles Morales, and Anya Corazon. The weird thing about this show is that Miles is even involved, since he takes over as Spider-Man after Peter dies, which isn't even close to this point in the Spider-Man story. And another strange thing is that Flash Thompson and Mary Jane are at Peter's old school, which is Midtown High, and this makes it harder for them to get focus. Flash has been in a few episodes. I believe he's been in 2 episodes, and I don't think Mary Jane has been shown at all yet, besides at a game in a costume, and we know that Peter has some sort of affection for her. So having characters at different schools makes it harder for them to have more personal connections. I'm not really too concerned about Flash, but I would love to see how they develop Peter Parker and Mary Jane, and maybe they'll do something with Gwen Stacy, and then they'll have Peter and Mary Jane, which is something that would be more similar to the comic books. Peter, he rocks a cheap Spider-Man costume with goggles and a red hoodie for a little bit, and he creates his main suit, the suit you see all the time in the comic books and movies and all that. He creates that suit pretty fast, and I think him being inexperienced should have been a longer plot point in the show. And sure, they referenced that he just became Spider-Man this year. They referenced it throughout the show, but Peter is pretty strong and he's pretty capable once you get a few episodes into the show. For some reason, Harry Osborn has black hair. It's not a huge deal. Maybe he dyed his hair black, but I don't know. Whenever I've seen Harry Osborn in Spider-Man shows, he's always looked like his father. He's had red hair. And Harry, he gets into some trouble at Midtown, and his father literally builds a school for him, and this is where the feuding school plot comes in. Horizon and Osborn Academy seem like they're competing, which I believe was Norman's fault. The weird thing about Norman and Harry is that they're the only villains that the show is really spending time developing. Everyone else gets introduced in an episode and gets defeated in that episode, or they gain their powers in the episode that they're introduced in. Sandman has been introduced, the symbiote has been introduced, Venom has been introduced, Kraven has been introduced, and a few others. And there's too many characters being shown in the show this early. That's my opinion. I feel like these characters should have a story arc and not all be active at once. Sure, you could have a few active at once, but there's just too many villains running around, and I feel like there's just too much going on. Harry and Norman, they get the most development. You can see hints of the Green Goblin in the show, and Spider-Man actually uses one of Harry's projects in a fight. I believe that was what happened, and that causes Harry to dislike Spider-Man throughout the rest of the show. And this is just really an annoying plot point. Harry makes fun of Spider-Man when he's clearly helping people out. It doesn't really fit, you know. I don't know how important this project was or what were the repercussions of Harry's project being destroyed, but he needs to calm down. He needs to take a chill pill, because he hates Spider-Man hardcore. And I don't know why, because it wasn't that serious. The Jackal has been shown to be important. Hammerhead has returned for another episode, and the Vulture was Peter's first villain in the show, and Vulture is still active in the show. And there's also hints to Dr. Octavius, hopefully I said that properly. But I think that's about it. I think I covered everyone, because some villains just haven't shown up since their first episode, but a lot of them are still active. So, to sum my point up about the villains, there's too many villains popping up, and it seems like Green Goblin is something that they're really taking their time with. The symbiote plot was too short. Peter had the black suit for an episode or two, and then Venom comes up and is defeated within the same episode. The black suit and Venom could have been its own story arc, and I didn't really like how Rhino was introduced as a kid. I'd prefer if all the villains are adults or whatever age they are in the comics. I like sticking to source material, but that's just me. And the Avengers have been introduced. I don't know much about these characters, but I don't really like having them around. This is Peter Parker's story. If you do read the Spider-Man comics, I would love if you could tell me if Peter is always depicted as younger than the Avengers. Because in this show, the Avengers are seasoned heroes, and Peter is a new hero, and he looks up to them, and he wants to be like them, and everything. Only 2 of the Avengers have popped up. There's a Halloween episode, and I didn't really like it. It felt kind of silly with this werewolf plot, and it just kind of seemed out of place within the show. So that's probably one of the worst episodes in the show. Miles Morales, he actually becomes Ultimate Spider-Man early on, and I didn't really like this. It's cool that he and Peter are around the same age in this iteration of Spider-Man. I don't really have a big issue with that, but with him becoming Spider-Man and fighting crime with Peter, that's not working for me. Basically, Peter, he serves as a teacher to Miles, and it's weird because Peter is still a newbie, and they reference this, and I believe they referenced it after all the stuff with Miles happens, because they do the student-teacher relationship for 2 episodes with Peter and Miles, and then the focus switches back over to Peter, and I was glad, because this is not a team show. I didn't come into this to watch a team show. If I wanted to watch a team show, I would watch the Drake Bell era of Spider-Man. But notice, I did not watch the Drake Bell era of Spider-Man. So, Miles as a character, I thought he was pretty lame. You know, he's pretty lame in the show. He sounds like a major nerd, and he's kind of immature. You can see that in the episode where he gains the Ultimate Spider-Man powers. We get to see a lot more of Miles' personality, and I didn't like it. I didn't like the way he spoke. I didn't like the way he acted with his bullies. I just don't like the way he's written. And if that's how the character is in the comics, cool. I won't retract my statements, but I'm glad they're following the comics if they are. And if not, please try to write the character better. Because I guess like, oh, he's a nerd, so he tries to sound threatening, but it's really not threatening because of the way he speaks. Work on that. Just work on that. Like, fix it, you know? Don't do that again. So, Marvel Spider-Man, it has pacing issues. There have been a lot of villains introduced in the show so far, and I feel like it's too much, and I get that they need to build a world, but focusing on 2 or 3 villains causing problems in New York would have been better for me, and there could have been smaller story arcs, you know, one focusing on Hammerhead that lasts for a few episodes, and then somehow that relates to Norman Osborn or something like that. Have the story arcs lead into each other, maybe have a little bit going on at the same time, but don't just introduce villains every single episode and then like, oh, this guy's been defeated. Alright, we're not going to do anything with this guy for a little bit. You know, it kind of feels like Peter's just fighting different villains every episode, and they could do more with that. They seem to really care about developing Norman and Harry, as there are big hints that Green Goblin is coming, and perhaps that could happen at the season finale. I don't know. As I mentioned earlier, the Jackal is important, Vulture seems important, and I think that's it. Hammerhead might be important, I don't know. I feel like Miles Morales became Spider-Man too early, and if killing Peter off is too dark for Disney, perhaps Peter could have gone missing a few seasons later, and then Miles takes over as the main character at some point for maybe, I don't know, half a season or for a whole season or something like that. And the show isn't great, and some episodes are bad, and I've actually thought about dropping the show here and there, but then I find myself enjoying it again. It's a mixed bag, but overall I'd actually recommend this show. So if you've seen the show, what do you think about Marvel's Spider-Man? And if you haven't seen the show, just watch a few episodes. You know, watch a few episodes and tell me what you think. Because I'm going to keep watching the show no matter what, but I'm actually curious to see what you guys think. Because there's a lot of negative opinions about this show online, and I feel like they're going overboard with the negative opinions, but that's just me. Anyways, that's it for me. Thank you for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you like my content and want to see more, be sure to subscribe. Don't forget to follow me on Twitter and like me on Facebook. The links are below. I'm Sermo11. See you next time, and peace out.